Hello, you are listening to the Gamer Librarian Podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. I am your host, Adrian, and today I will be talking about video games, manga, and more. Afterwards, be sure to subscribe to be notified when future episodes are released, and show your support by liking and leaving a comment. Thank you for joining. All right, we are back here on another Monday here in the year 2025. It is going pretty well. We got some games coming up within the year. February is pretty packed, right? We have Sid Meier's Civilization 7, which I'm pretty excited for. I really haven't been keeping track on all the latest announcements for. I think they have a bunch of character stuff and they might even have some gameplay, but I really haven't kept up on that too much because I'd rather just get the game and play it once it's in my hands. I plan on playing a good chunk about that game, at least four campaigns, and then I don't even know if they do like a main series like campaign in the game, but they usually just have like scenarios around each character, and I'll probably play some of the online, not a whole lot, and I want to try at least maybe get 50 hours in by the time that the episode of the podcast and whatever else by that time comes out because I want to at least give like a decent casual take on how the game is, if it functions as like a casual level, can a casual player enjoy it? And then that's basically it. Monster Hunter has been on the horizon for me soon, so when some things, slow down, I'm gonna probably try and give Monster Hunter Rise a good play in the future because I want to try and play Wild Hunt when that comes out, and then everything's up in the air with game releases. I think only things in like February, March are like set confirmed, and then we'll have like the announcements starting to roll around March into May, June kind of stuff. That's when all the big game announcements come through. And for what I've been playing, and this kind of plays into announcements, but Marvel Rivals put out their season one content. It's vampire themed, even though there's not a whole lot of vampires to be played or fight against within the game, as far as I've seen. I put in a good amount of playtime into some of the new characters and on the new maps, and even the new game modes. Doom something, which is pretty fun. It's like a free for all kind of mode, which I actually really enjoy. It's pretty fun. So the characters, I put in far more time into Mr. Fantastic than Miss Invisible, and I have to say that Mr. Fantastic is incredibly fun. I wish his super was a little easier to control, just on my, like understanding of how you can control it. It's kind of you don't necessarily can aim, but you have a decent sight of the ground when you turn into a big giant version of Mr. Fantastic with a big fist, and you just slam and bounce like every time you get a hit, you bounce. I can guess only do six. I don't know what the limit is. I really haven't looked it up, but it only feels like it's about like six or so that you can get like maximum amount of hits, maybe more. But he's incredibly fun. The only drawback to him, I would say, is just the difficulty controlling the ultimate, and then everything else has been pretty enjoyable. I do wish he had like a big stride attack or something like a big like foot stomp maybe, something that could be used as like a mobility thing, or he could just grab stuff. He feels very slow for a stretchy character. That's definitely maybe I would actually say that maybe the bigger drawback is that he does feel incredibly slow for a stretchy character. That's pretty much it. And Miss Invisible, I haven't put out too much into her. She's like a four-star character. Overall, she feels like she doesn't heal as often as some of the other characters, just because of how her shields work, and her super is actually pretty good. Playing against it, it's actually pretty annoying. So it's like a big area effect, and it's actually pretty cool to see things like that within the game, and she's really enjoyable. It's definitely nice seeing two new fresh and blood characters, and then soon we're gonna have Human Torch and the Thing, which I don't know. I kind of feel like putting them out together probably should have been the safer bet, but maybe they're just not ready to show off yet. That's obviously like they're probably taking some time to make these characters, but um, you know, this season seems pretty good so far. Like the promise of four characters is pretty good, but I've seen a lot of stuff where it's like the devs have talked about where this season is like twice as big as a normal season in some regards, and that we should expect the seasons to be more like one or two maps and then like two or one singular character. And I don't think that's so bad. They're supposedly about every 3 months a season lasts, so we're supposedly hopefully going to get that about three times, four times a year. That's pretty good. I think 4 times a year is pretty solid for these seasons. Hopefully that they're going to be pretty packed with solid characters. I hope that maybe characters don't come in waves of just two. There are three classes. I would maybe hope that they do like three, just like one character per class. But maybe that depends on like how certain other characters play. Especially like the healer type. I don't know what kind of other characters would be a healer type character within the Marvel universe. Because I would have thought Groot would have been a healer character in some weird way, but overall, it doesn't really matter as long as the characters I think are fun and they make sense within the game itself and there's enough variety per character. Like I don't want another character that's just a shooter like Punisher, and I think a good example of that is Winter Soldier. I think Winter Soldier, because of his robot arm, he has different versatility and different ways to play the game, which is actually really cool. So I think those two distinctions, and then maybe a different distinction is like the a character like the Human Torch, the character we haven't played yet, is flying, and a character that I would love to see in a game, fan favorite X-Men, Angel, right? He's a flying character, he has wings, he can become maybe the Apocalypse Dark Angel and can get like metal wings. That could be like his super or something. Or maybe that could be like his ability if Apocalypse is in the game. I mean, that's awesome. So like the synergies in the game could be enhanced even in that way. Like the X gene just being buffed if you have X-Men on your team. I do think maybe they should go all out with the synergies. It feels like they're pretty limited to like, oh, like a good example is Miss Fantastic only gets a synergy with just Miss Invisible so far, and I think it only works with mostly Miss Invisible and maybe not the other characters in the Fantastic Four. So like it has to be Miss Invisible and then other characters together. I could be completely wrong, and I don't know how it works because we haven't seen it. Yeah, I'm just unsure. I feel like there's could be a lot more synergy stuff you could do for the game in terms of making it beneficial to have a wider variety of characters rather than the same few just because of the synergy sake of stuff. That's just how I feel about it. But I'm always on the case of like there should be more to the player decision rather than just like limiting, especially in the sake of like the esports scene and all that, especially when you can just make up game modes for any kind of sake. Like even just having the game mode in like the custom fan game kind of thing, I think will still be fun. But maybe that would be like a future thing they put in a uh, other content update later on. The Dracula theme is definitely a little odd. Maybe they missed the Halloween mark by just a tiny bit with their release. Obviously, that might have happened because it came out in like December, but I don't think the Dracula thing is very weird. But there's no Dracula playable character, not even like Morbius or Blade or anything. And I would like to see characters like Miss Marvel, Captain America. I already mentioned Angel, right? And then Cyclops, yes. Jean Grey, Magneto. Magneto's already in there, but Mr. Xavier X, right? Mr. X, Professor X, right? Gambit would always be cool. All of the X-Men characters would be pretty nice. But I think the game would really benefit from definitely more characters. Like if you think about it, two per year, 2 times 4, that's like 8 characters per year. That's kind of all right. I feel like maybe they should strive for like 10 characters per year. Because they have a big catalog of characters, man. Especially all the villains. There's so many villains that they could pull the kind of inspiration from. The symbiotes, there's the Spider-Man's Sinister Six. There's all kinds of characters that they can make sweet variations on. Like I mentioned the symbiotes. I think Scream would be a really cool one. I always liked characters like Black Canary in the DC comics. Those are pretty fun. And I just think that characters like that would be pretty interesting. Ant-Man I would love to do Ant-Man, make him get bigger or smaller. That's I probably think probably something that's very difficult to do in terms of the gameplay mechanics. Maybe it's like if you spend a certain amount of time small, but like you hide and you don't get noticed, you build up like attack power or something like that. And then maybe if you become regular size or you get your alt become big, you get like multiplier of damage, something like that. I definitely feel like the giantness of Ant-Man would be different, but they could definitely just make his size bigger. They don't have to make it like the entire thing. We don't have to make him destroy the map or clip through the map or break the map or anything like that. It could just be, simple and fun. A good example, I think, is who's a who's a big character. I think it's in Smash Bros. They had a large character and they minimized him and they made him pretty small. Like Godzilla comes to mind. I think maybe Godzilla's in a smaller fighting game, but they could definitely just, not make the size like massive as they could. Apocalypse would be a really great example. I would love to see him in Marvel Rivals. And yeah, that's, pretty much it for that game. You could definitely expect me to definitely talk about Human Torch and the Thing when they come out, but I wish we could have a little bit of idea how they play in terms of ways of speculating and all that kind of stuff. But I did complete the Outer Worlds DLC, so I thought they were okay. I definitely thought the hotel mystery one was more fun than the weird like faux not Lovecraftian kind of space alien one. That one wasn't as good. I liked the mystery one a lot more. It felt like that one had a lot more cohesion to it, and it was definitely more enjoyable. I liked the quest in it a lot more. The area was a lot more like interesting in terms of everything. So overall, that was pretty fun. Super looking forward to Outer Worlds 2 coming out later this year, hopefully, whenever that's going to come out. And I was, super, super happy to play this game again, but I don't think I'll ever go back to doing it now that I went through it. I mean, I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of variation in my playthrough with like that single player playthrough of it. I didn't feel like like the main campaign, there's no like variation to my overall ending like there could have been, especially when you could have just turned in the doctor from the get-go, which tempted me very much. And it not necessarily felt like it had that like same scope of adventure that like the Fallout games had, where some of the things are very different in their own way. It felt like, if I had to say it, the towns in the game felt like they're just like corporation like towns, and then those are like the fun area, hub areas, and there's not real much variation to them. Kind of like variation I would describe like the vaults in Fallout. Like those are kind of like the same corporate kind of similar locations that I would say. There's no difference to them at the same time. The corporations are always bad or they're always oppressive, and the people just kind of like people I would say are kind of mediocre in that game. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully the next game has a little more fun. Not a lot of science weapons either, from what I found within the game. Not many new ones besides the DLC ones, which are pretty fun. And yeah, that's basically it for the Outer Worlds. I'm definitely gonna do the sequel just because I liked the first game so much the first time around, and this time it was still enjoyable, but the anticipation I had for the DLC definitely made playing the game again, like in anticipation to getting there more enjoyable. Like I was having more fun just being goofy. Uh, I did the only lie and intimidation playthrough for the most part, right? Because there's no real variation to some of the outcomes in the game, so I didn't really feel like some of the outcomes were beneficial. So it's just like, why would I even bother? So just lie or intimidate, which were kind of the same thing. And yeah, it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. I did try to get some time to play the Elder Scrolls Arena, and I was tempted to play this game because I saw a lot of videos where people talking about the map of this game and it being large and stuff. And I gotta say, I'm still getting acclimated to the controls of the game. It's pretty difficult only using the mouse and the keyboard, and you have to like use the right click to swing it. And I could use some emulator to remap it or get a controller, but I don't really want to do that. And it's also running on Steam perfectly fine through some like built-in Steam emulator DDoS thing. So yeah, it works fine. I chose to play as a high elf from the Somerset Isles, and I'm trying to do battle maids, and I'm just having a difficult, getting acclimated to the combat and the moving and the menu. It's very archaic. This is a very, very old game. It's like the first Elder Scrolls game. It came out like 89 or something. I couldn't tell you. I don't care if I'm wrong. But overall, it is still enjoyable. It's an Elder Scrolls game. And what really got me into it is because I've been teetering between going back to Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls Online because I'm playing a role-playing game with my friends back here, and we're going all the way through the entirety of Tamriel. We've already gone through Cyrodiil. We've gone through Skyrim twice in Cyrodiil, and then Elsewhere. We were in Valenwood, and now we're making our way to wherever the Argonians are from Black Mars, which is going to be pretty cool. These are areas some of them never featured in most of the games. I'm not necessarily sure how in depth they are in Arena or what the differences are. I know some races change like what countries they're from within the sequels. So I don't really know. And I don't really care. I'm just here for the ride. So it's honestly that game Elder Scrolls Arena, and then Monster Hunter Rise that I'll be playing between now and whenever Civ and Wild Hunt come out. And next episode, we'll definitely be talking about more Monster Hunter Rise and Elder Scrolls Arena. And yeah, I'll definitely play more Mob Rivals in between here. I would have liked to play more Path of Exile, but I'm just feeling discouraged between going back to like my monk character or then start a new character and trying out the game in a different way. Not really sure, but I'm still, going to try and go back to it eventually. I know there's a big talk within the developer team. I saw like Zach Asmongold reacting to it, so I was gonna just wait and watch that whole video of him doing it, and then we'll see what happens. And we are gearing up towards a very nice episode coming up soon. I mean, it's just kind of funny that we even got this far. So I have a special book planned that I'm going to be reading, not during the episode, but I'm just going to be reading it between now and the episode's release, just so I could talk about it. And it's a book just because it's a very funny episode, and I think it'd be funny to talk about this book on the episode. And then I've wanted to read it before, and definitely be kind of a book that would definitely make me the kind of like better partner lover that I try to want to be. Especially like in the future, so hopefully there's some tips and tricks that'll be definitely be pretty cool. So it's definitely pretty interesting to be talking about this book here on the podcast. And if you know, you know. So I'll definitely be seeing you guys in 2 weeks when that episode comes out. So I do think it's time for us to talk about our sponsor, Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like other energy drinks. We also have no maltodextrin filters and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. Use the coupon code down below to get 10% off your order. Dubby is an energy drink powder that is produced in FDA registered and inspected facilities in the United States. So yeah, that was our Dubby sponsor. Then that was just me reading it out, but Dubby has been nice to us to sponsor us this far. I haven't gotten an email saying that they said I should stop, so they don't hate me. And I don't know if anybody's used it. I really haven't even checked the account. I just kind of thought it'd be kind of cool to have a sponsor this early on in the podcast, even if it's not conventional or whatever you want to say. I just kind of thought it'd be cool, especially if people want like a discount on energy powder if they want to take that stuff, even if it's not like good for you or healthy or whatever. That's up to you. I'm not really, endorsing that it's good for you or not. I'm just giving you a discount on it. That's literally it. It's just for the podcast. I thought it'd be nice. It's kind of gamer themed. Gamer people use that. It's just, something to fill up the time until maybe some other sponsor comes along. I'm not really sure. I would like if Shonen Jump would sponsor me. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. I read enough of your manga on your subscription service that I pay $4 or so for it. I don't know. I'm on your app all the time reading these mangas. That's just me. I'm not complaining or anything. It's just, it would be nice. But I also spend a lot of time reading comic books. And recently, the last few months, they have been putting out the DC Absolute series, and were blessed with issue 4. Now, I don't think I talked about this before on the podcast, but the Absolute comics, at least the Batman ones right now, are written by Scott Snyder, and I feel like he probably has a hand in the other ones as well. And also illustrated by Nick Dragotta. And I don't know what Nick has done in the past, but I know Scott Snyder is pretty prevalent within the DC universe. So that's pretty awesome. So shout out to you guys for bringing out another banger of an issue, like Absolute Batman 4 is super awesome. So it goes a little more in depth to um, Bruce's past, his relationship with Joe Chill, which is, pretty traumatic for a kid to be talking to the person who, you know, may or may not have killed your parent. So like I'm not really trying to go into spoilers here, but that's, everybody knows who Joe Hill is and what he did. So like, you can kind of piece the two together. And, you know, this goes into also Batman versus politicians. There's a lot of Batman saying things about, politicians, the higher class, the way they do things, the way things might be done. I think it's very topical. I think it's very current. I think it's very real. That's why I like this series. This series is awesome. Also, can I just say, his cape has saw blades, That's all I gotta say. That's not saying that's gonna be anything, but just question mark saw blades. Yeah, I'm super enjoying it, and it has me super excited to see what they're gonna have in the future. They have so much more planned, and I'm gonna be reading these series issue by issue the whole way through. I love them so much. Um, besides comics, or at least Western comics, which I think are pretty fun. I don't read enough of them. We've been on the manga kick. Now, I don't plan on doing the manga stuff for the whole year. I've pretty much read all of the manga that I've been super interested in reading so far. For ones that like I haven't started yet or gotten a chance to read yet that interest me, I think will probably only be either Baki and Mashal, I think it's called. Those are the only two that I think are really on my list, like coherently that I want to actually give a try, and then we'll see what happens. So currently, we're reading Dandadan, and I will say. I'm super enjoying Dandadan. I knew I would like it just from the second I started the anime. And when the anime finished, I was, dying to start it again. So I don't necessarily really want to spoil a lot of Dandadan just because it's hasn't really been animated yet, and I'm super enjoying everything about it, and I think it's really paced well. So the best thing I can say about it is chapters, I think 100 to like 105 are super peak. Like it's a character backstory. It's all kinds of awesomeness. Love it. And this has been an action-packed, fun, enjoyable anime that I am excited to see where the manga like leads, where it currently is now. I think it's chapter 188 or 189. And right now I'm on chapter 125. So we'll see where we are then in the future. So we did finish Jujutsu Kaisen. Okay, so we finished that, and man, what a manga. It I will say it's not disappointing, right? I did enjoy every single moment of it. Everything that's after the anime was super enjoyable. I would say it's kind of one of those animes where the ending kind of comes a little too soon, and what I mean by that is like I feel like it could have gone much longer. It could have maybe had a little more room to breathe. The scope could have been a little larger, but it just kind of feels like everything's wrapped up pretty fast, and then everything's kind of done, and the world's kind of the same, right? And like what I mean by like the world feeling the same, and nothing really felt like it was just like super chains, and like things are still gonna happen. Um, I don't know. I feel like some shows when they feel like they're super closed, they're super like finite and they're done, they really have that feeling like everything's super over. And Dragon Ball is a super good example of one that doesn't really have that opportunity because it just does go on forever. And Jujutsu Kaisen, well, I it's not my favorite anime. I do feel like it's something that maybe kind of deserves a really definitive ending and not feel like, oh, they're just gonna really make like spin-offs and OVAs and then sequels and all that kind of stuff. Um, some things just deserve to just be its own thing, and they're making movies for it. Probably like season three or something will be a movie, maybe. I'm unsure. What is going to be a movie is the next part of Chainsaw Man, which I think is horrendous. I would prefer the TV show portion of it, but maybe the action will be super cool in the movie. I don't know. I not like I don't like the movies. It's just like it's definitely a thing where the main parts of anime and like manga and then the anime TV show portions are just becoming movies. I don't feel like that's a negative. I just feel like it's a weird transition. And I'm going to use Dragon Ball as another example. It does something that's kind of a good and a negative, where it just does the movie arc again, but in TV form. And that makes me feel like I just paid a TV ticket, a movie ticket for this. I don't know. That makes me feel kind of scammed. Like I saw, quite a bit of anime movies in the theaters, and they're all great experiences. I'm not gonna say that they're not great, but it's definitely different than the episodic, chapter by chapter manga feel that certain stuff have, and then maybe doesn't translate well when you do the movie arc, the same arc that you've already done again in the TV show. So maybe they shouldn't do that. I don't know if they do that for a lot of the other animes out there, but I know for Dragon Ball they do. We had Chainsaw Man chapter 189. That's awesome. The Eternity Devil is, he's broken in terms of his power. He feels like he's so strong. Like his name's Eternity. It's crazy. And something with octopus face. That's all I gotta say. So for anybody not caught up on Chainsaw Man, you had better get on there because here we are. Um, Sadly, Wild Strawberry is on hiatus with its 37.1 chapter, so we'll be seeing them in February. And we were also blessed with the Black Clover chapters 377 and 378. So here it is. Like this is maybe the pinnacle battle, the penultimate battle. Who can say? There's a lot of rumors saying that this is like the end. We'll probably get the end sooner rather than later. It's Yuna and Asta versus Lucian, right? So it's all come to here. Lucian's possessed by a devil, and that's practically all we can say. This is a weird one because it feels like the ending will probably be super finite with Black Clover, but I could also see it going on for a lot longer. I would like it to go on a little longer. I'm super loving it, but I know it's been going on for a very, very long time, so I could understand, that things just need to come to an end. I feel like it's okay to really just, you know, not have things go on for a super long time. I think that's pretty good. Maybe Berserk is a good example of that. I feel like fans have just been trying for a conclusion so long, and maybe they're trying to figure that out now in that kind of scope. But there's definitely a vision and a respect to that vision that I think that you know that they're doing to things like Dragon Ball and all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. So that's the only thing that as fans we can only be like commendable and admire and then pay to see those things. So that's all I can do, which would be pretty fun. So yeah, I think we're getting like Jujutsu Kaisen movies and then Chainsaw Man movie for like its season two portion of its arcs or whatever. Dragon Ball Super already has a bunch of super movies, which I don't super hate, but I just don't feel like they've always been the best way to do the Dragon Ball series or like any kind of series, I feel like there's like a flow to them and they kind of have to have that same kind of feel. The movies don't really have that, but they're super entertaining moments, and that's awesome. Demon Slayer, I think, was one that I think is like a bitter taste in my mouth. The Mugen Train one, it was like, man, it's super flashy, but like this is a manga arc, and it's a very lackluster manga arc, and it just really wasn't. It just really didn't hit. Um, Another good example is Dragon Ball Daima could be a movie, right? It's about 20 episode series so far. We just got episode 12, which is awesome. And the only other thing I could add about episode 12 is that we got a mention for more lore in the demon realm. So they have, planets. We see that all the time, kind of like the same Supreme Kai and the Kai planets. And we got mega and giga planets where things are just large, apparently, large and strong. So very simple. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of lore. And there's like the giant animals, if they fought those. Um, so like moments like that could be maybe be cut or just be like shorter, and then you can make a movie out of the whole show. Who could say? I definitely think certain arcs of manga really make great movies. But sometimes, just like the Mugen Train arc, I feel like they don't do it. It's not. They don't hit. It's not there.